Welcome back, everyone. They firebomb buildings in the name of animals. Some call them heroes. The FBI calls them terrorists.
The FOX.avi team has a tape teaching college students how to build bombs. The I-Team's Tom Merriman takes you inside the animal rights underground.
Images of extreme brutality have ignited a movement of extreme reaction.
Wake up, puppy killer!
From rowdy demonstrations to in-your-face confrontations.
Why are you defending it?
But the animal rights movement has also become linked to what the FBI calls special interest terrorism.
Intimidation, coercion, threats.
What do they expect? But when you use violence, you got to expect violence in return.
The Animal Liberation Front, or ALF, operates through secret independent cells spread across the nation, vandalizing property, destroying research labs, firebombing buildings.
This Arby's here, they actually broke the door and started the fire in the interior.
You're a terrorist.
The one thing that we believe in hurting, and the only thing we believe in hurting, are the profits of corporations who make a living out of killing.
The ALF also believes in shutting down all medical research involving animals.
It's not an animal's fault that someone smokes their whole life and then gets cancer.
So we should just let that person die? Because it might hurt a mouse or a gerbil or a rat?
I wouldn't choose to kill a rat just to save a person.
Jesse Parsh of Lakewood is a convicted ALF militant.
40 dead animals! 1 fur coat!
Busted in 1997 for his role in a late-night raid on a Medina County fur farm.
They slaughter animals to make money, and the only way that they'll stop is once it's not profitable.
According to the U.S. Department of Justice here in Washington, the Animal Liberation Front, along with its companion group, the Earth Liberation Front, or ALF, comprise America's largest domestic terrorism organization. Their attacks have caused more than $40 million in damage.
ALF and ALF are very secretive in who they are, what they're planning, and they don't talk a great deal other than to claim responsibility for their action.
While ALF commits crime in the name of animal liberation, the ELF also uses arson to push an environmental agenda. A lab at Michigan State, a ski resort in Colorado, and most recently, luxury homes in suburban Detroit.
Every time that they violate our civil or human rights, we should target their property.
The man at the podium is Rodney Coronado.
Every time a police agency pepper sprays and these compliance holes against our people, their cars should burn.
Rodney Coronado right now is the most influential animal rights terrorist on the face of the earth.
David Martosco works for the Center for Consumer Freedom, a group funded by the restaurant industry.
They burn things down just to scare people.
Who are they to level the accusation of terrorism? They have more blood on their hands than our entire movement.
Coronado spent nearly 5 years in prison for a string of ALF fires. He insists the Animal Liberation Front targets property, not people.
We do not believe in hurting anybody, and we never have, and we never will.
But they don't exactly screen their arsonists. In fact, anyone can volunteer to become an ALF terrorist. These websites explain how to pick a target and how to build a firebomb.
We don't know who these individuals are. We hear about them third hand, and we simply publish the information and say, kudos to you.
This is a crude incendiary device.
Rodney Coronado recruits college students to become direct action warriors.
We have a tape. You're on it. Showing college students how to make a firebomb. Encouraging people to go out and do this.
I think that it is a noble position to stand up in today's violent society and take an action that prevents an act of violence. That's about $2.
Aren't you being incredibly irresponsible by spreading this message of firebombing buildings where there may be people?
Let's look at the evidence at the end of the day. We do not have a body count. They do. The corporations that we oppose make a living out of having body counts.
Perhaps most controversial are these court records and tax filings, suggesting a link between the ALF and our nation's highest profile animal rights organization, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
Turn your back on farm!
According to this federal sentencing memo, PETA served as the, quote, media conduit for Rodney Coronado's 1992 firebombing of a laboratory at Michigan State. He sent packages to a Maryland address immediately before and after the MSU arson. The first was received by PETA's president, Ingrid Newkirk. The second package, containing a videotape of the arson, was intercepted by authorities.
Well, I don't know what was sent to anybody, but I can tell you we get unsolicited packages all the time here.
Come on. PETA doesn't know any of these guys? Doesn't know anything about ALF?
No, absolutely not.
PETA knows exactly what it's doing, and they ought to be held accountable.
Tax records reveal PETA contributed $70,000 to Rodney Coronado's legal defense. PETA has also given $1,500 to the Earth Liberation Front.
Why not condemn people who would use violence to advance that cause?
We're not in the condemning business. It's just
PETA condemns a lot of things.
Sure, we're in the business of condemning animal exploitation and animal harm, absolutely.
Neither Newkirk nor PETA have ever been charged with a crime. PETA says they're the target of a witch hunt orchestrated by the Center for Consumer Freedom, once funded by Philip Morris, now pushing the agenda of the fast food industry.
Fortunately, we live in a country where you don't have to say, are you now or have you ever been a vegetarian? I mean, is that the next question?
They can't deny their financial gifts to people and groups that the FBI says are terrorists.
We are the abolitionists fighting for the protection and the rights of animals. He represents the slaveholders.
Abolitionists or terrorists? Heroes or thugs?
We had to go to war to end slavery. To have independence from Great Britain, people had to die.
Whatever tactics they may ultimately use, the Animal Liberation Front is committed to making history.
50 years from now, people are going to look back on this struggle and ask why we didn't do more.
With the passage of the Patriot Act, the FBI now has tremendous power to go after both the ALF and otherwise legitimate groups who may lend them support. But many animal rights activists are concerned a federal crackdown could simply trigger more extreme and violent underground actions.
Tom, has the FBI had much success busting these ALF
Not
groups?
really, Wilma. Since the ALF does not appear to have a centralized command structure, it's been really difficult for law enforcement to penetrate the individual anonymous cells. That's why the FBI appears to be taking a hard look at the legitimate groups who may communicate with or offer support to the ALF.
I'm sure we'll be hearing a whole lot more on this issue.
These guys are going to be in the news in the coming years.
I'm sure.
Tom
Thanks,
Merriman, thank you.
Judge,